Thursday evening Parent Academy webinar session. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we are excited to have you as audience listeners and participants. I am Tina Foston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools, and I welcome you this evening. Tonight, we will receive some helpful information from Santa Fe's very own Mr. Jimmy Yan, who is the coordinator of Career Exploration Center. And just before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring your questions and respond accordingly. Please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the webinar window. And please note that all Parent Academy webinar sessions are closed captioned, recorded, and posted to our website for access at a later date or re-review for anyone that could not join in live tonight. Your questions will be answered at the conclusion of each session. If there's a specific need for any personal conversations, the Parent Academy's email address is parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and we will get to those questions or your request for additional information. And now, without further ado, I'd like to present to you Mr. Jimmy. Hi, Mr. Jimmy.
Gotta unmute. Here I am. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my treat for tonight. I love these things.
Awesome. All right. Take it away.
Okay, my turn. Alrighty, I got a little PowerPoint here for you. Let me fire it up and get it on the screen. Is it appearing? Okay, are you seeing the PowerPoint? Oh, wait. I haven't shared the screen yet. Okay, hang on a minute. My own little clerical duty. Share that screen. Oops, hang on just a second. Boy, I'm not very well prepared this minute. Give me just a second.
No worries.
At the end, not the beginning. We want to start at the beginning. Here we go. All right, get it up. I think, all right, I share the screen. Screen 2, share. Okay, now do we see a blue screen with wheels on it?
We are up and running.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for putting up with that little glitch. If that's the worst one I have tonight, I'm doing better than average, so hang in there. Anyway, as Tina said, my name is Jimmy Yan, Y-A-W-N. I'm with the Career Exploration Center at Santa Fe College, where this worked earlier. There we go. Where dreams are made real. Good dreams, no nightmares. Thank you. My name, as I mentioned, is Jimmy Yan. I like to get it up there in blazing lights, not so much because I'm a raging egotist, but you can see what a great name I have for a career counselor. When you think of career stuff, what comes to mind that is fascinating, exciting, or if you think it is, just ask your kids. And if they say this, well, I'll tell you what they might say. The average high school student would say career stuff is exciting, right? Fascinating, right? Probably boring. But why? Career stuff is not really boring. It's terrifying. But many students would rather hide behind the veil of boredom than face the fear and get on with it. Because see, we grew up with career identities from an early age. When you ask a little kid what you want to be when you grow up, they have to have an answer, or we keep bugging them till they give us one. And in adolescence, students tend to gravitate towards those occupations that hold high prestige within their peer groups, or the things they think they're good at, like athletics and band and the like, and tend to gravitate towards those things as adults. But then when we get to college, and we say, state your major, at some point they know it's real and often become frightened and regress, do all kinds of strange things. But this is the time when a student really needs to be considering what is their major, what is their career, so they can make the best choices they can and use their time and credits and financial aid effectively. So I become a defender of oppressed mental states, help people recognize boredom as a power source to its motivation to learn what I need to be doing and what am I not doing it, and to get on with it. So So in working with people, I've identified two voices of career reasoning that talk with each other, and this is kind of part of the problem and the solution. I feel we have a parental voice that says you need a job, a good job, salary, sick leave, retirement, insurance, a health plan. Are you going to be able to buy a house, buy a boat, buy a car, raise your kids, get them through college? And that voice has a point. We have a child that talks back, that wants to grow, wants to learn, seeks adventure, excitement, has superpowers, save the universe. I think that voice is important too because it gives us a reason to live. Whereas the parent gives us a means by which we live. So I think a good career is one that satisfies both voices, but it happens over time. It's not going to happen all at once. That degree you get is going to be a stepping stone into a new world where you can then wiggle and squirm your way towards the best career. And if you keep your eyes on the prize and work well and hard and do the right things, you'll make it. I'm here to help. So I'd like to talk with students about careers, colleges, and majors, about knowing their options and making good choices. And that leads us to choosing a major. Now, that's a key element here. Now, they're choosing a career, choosing college, those are significant too, but the major can be key. But there's so many questions about it. That's so complicated, so much information out there. The world is confusing. I remember I'm a defender of oppressed middle states. Confusion is good. The world is confusing. Anybody that's not confused isn't paying attention. So I like to help with that whenever I can. But knowing more about these options of careers, colleges, and majors can help people make plans for a good living and a good life. So I want to talk about majors here. What do we mean by major? Now, here we don't call it major, not what we have at Santa Fe. We call it program of study. And the reason being, some of the programs we have, like welding and automotive service, aren't true majors. They're perfectly valid programs of study for an occupation, and they're great for some people, but it's a difference. And for legal terms, we're not allowed to call many of our programs majors. So if you hear me use the word program of study, don't be fooled. That includes majors. Got it? Got it. So what I like to ask people when they're not sure of what they want to major in or where they want to go, I ask, what do you know already? Are there some things that are already a given, already decided? Do you know what college or university you want to attend? Right here at Santa Fe, we hear it from an awful lot of students say, I'm going to UF. I got to be a Gator. I'll die if I don't become a Gator. What should I major in? Okay, well, you can look at the majors they have and help a person figure out what it is. This is one of Jim's rules. I get to make up my own rules. That's good. A benefit of being old is I make up rules, and one of them is it's a lot easier to make choices when you know what the choices are. So if somebody says, I'm going to UCF or I'm going back home to Florida International in Miami, then we can find out what majors that school offers and take it from there. Okay? So we can also find out, or if somebody knows what state or city they're going to be in, what schools are within commuting distance. And I'll show you a program that lets you do that. A lot of people say, well, we're moving to DC next year. Where can I go to school for da da da? We can find the schools that offer that major in that location. What career field? A lot of students know what they want to do. They want to go into medicine. They want to go into engineering. They want to go into nursing. They want to go into teaching, social services. We can help them find out what majors relate to those fields, what occupations one does with those majors, and figure it out from there. And another question we often have to answer is a person willing to pursue online training? Because there are a lot of things that might be available to a person online that aren't easily available at their local college. Of course, we're fortunate to be here in a town with a major university where we have lots and lots and lots of options, but even then, not every single thing. So online sometimes works for people. So I like to talk about programs of study just a little more. That includes majors and minors and certificates and technical degrees and apprenticeships and on-the-job training and probably a number of other things I'm not thinking of right now. Program of study just means whatever you do you study in school in order to get a kind of occupation. So here's a little graph that I made up a few years ago that I find useful with a lot of people because it's a timeline. It's a little hard to conceive this from just the words we tell. So I like a chart because it helps a little bit. This is taking an example of Santa Fe College, what we have here and where it leads. We have certificate programs that are a year, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but most of them are about a year, and they lead directly to high growth, high wage occupation in this area. We also have a number of associate of science degrees that are 2 years long, some a little longer, but they also lead to high growth, high wage occupations at a somewhat higher level than the certificates do. Then we have the associate of arts degree that you'll note does not lead directly to a job. The associate of arts is the first 2 years of a 4-year bachelor's degree. So once a person is done with the associate of arts, they're not done, they're halfway done, maybe a little less than halfway, depending on where they want to go. But the Associate of Arts leads to a bachelor's degree, which after another 2 full-time years leads to work. Then there's the Associate of Arts leading a bachelor's degree, leading to a master's degree. For some fields, you might need to or want to continue on for masters, like if you want to be a counselor, teach at the university level, be an occupational therapist. There are a number of occupations that require the master's degree. There are quite a few now that require a doctorate. If a person wants to be any kind of scientist or wants to teach at the university level, wants to be a psychologist, that takes a PhD. Advanced practice nursing is now taking a doctorate degree. Then they have the professional doctorates, and those are doctorate degrees like medicine, law, dentistry, chiropractic medicine. And those one normally gets into right after the bachelor's degree, but there are exceptions to all these rules. This is a very general chart. There are exceptions to everything. One exception is this makes it looks like you always have to just start with one of these lines and continue to the end and that's it. No, quite often people will climb the ladder. They may start with a certificate that gets them an entry-level job in their field and then continue on for a higher degree and a higher degree. So continued education can be part of a career. Example is I had a woman a while back that wanted to be a nurse practitioner. Right now, that's a doctorate degree, and she's willing to go for the doctorate, but she's got kids. She's got to work. So she's going to start with her nursing assistant program, which gets her a good job in the health field, entry-level job, and gets her working at a hospital, which will support her further education, so you can continue on towards the Associate of Science degree in nursing, towards her bachelor's in nursing, and ultimately towards her doctorate in nursing. Now, that's not a have to. When people want to fly to the top, that's fine with me too. And if they don't have the resources for it, I'm here to help them with it, help them find them. Oh, a little sideline. I also help people search for scholarships. Don't ignore the financial aid office. Don't ignore the FAFSA. Definitely do those. But if you want to see what else might be available, let me know and I'll be glad to go over that with you. But not tonight. That's a whole nother story. So sometimes people ask me, why on earth would I want to go through 8 years of training and get a job? Well, here's a simple but compelling answer. On the average, the more training you get, the more money you'll make. Now, that's not always true. There's some differences among here, but on the average, that'll hold. So if you may want to make a really good salary, think about more and more training. Although you can do pretty darn well with an associate of science degree your whole life, even a certificate your whole life, because as you proceed through your career, you'll generally get increases because of longevity and further training on the job. So you can do okay with any of these, but if you want mega bucks, think more or less mega training. So what else? Oh, I like to emphasize that money is not happiness, not by itself. Of course, you need some money to be happy. I like money. I use money every day, and we need a certain amount to be happy, but more and more doesn't make us happier and happier. So I recommend find that happy medium. Think about the job will have you doing the right thing that they think is righteous to do. It's your superpower. It helps people out in a way you want to be helpful. It rewards you in all the other ways. Those are the kinds of jobs that keep people happy for their lifetimes. So here's a question we try to find the answer to. What can I do with a major in? And sometimes the answer is not clear. So for this, I like to talk about three kinds of majors because it's not always obvious what kind of job you'll do with a given major. Sometimes it is. I like to classify classify majors into three categories. Where's my Mickey Mouse hand? Three categories. Direct connects are those majors that aim at a particular job, or maybe one or two very closely related jobs. I'll show you some of those in a moment. Then there's the close connect that qualifies a person for a range of occupations that's reasonably clear. And then there are those open field, or I now call them diverse majors, where it's really not obvious what your job market will be. I'll give you a few examples. Direct connect includes things like pharmacy, law, accounting, registered nursing, nutrition, and engineering. These are those jobs where a certain program is required for you to be licensed to work in that field. That's what I mean by direct connect. You don't get that degree, you don't work in that field. So that makes it pretty obvious what occupation you're going for. There's a risk there, though, which we'll get to in a moment. Some professions like that may also require state or national licensure, association certification. You may have to graduate from an accredited program for that major. So those are worth looking at too. Examples of the close connect majors include things like chemistry, biology, ecology, linguistics, computer science, where there's no one single job you'll be going for, but there's a well-identified range of occupations. Then there are the open field or diverse occupations like English, history, sociology, geography. There's dozens of them where it's not real obvious what job you'll get. Maybe there's one or two jobs that are obvious, but it's not very satisfactory. A classic example on this, I had a young man come in a while back that said, I would just love history. I want to major in history, but dad says he won't pay for it because I won't be able to get a job. Is he right? Well, no, you can get a job with any major, but what? So I like to talk about career fear and the two types of uncertainty that attend with major choice. One is that with a diverse major, what job can I get with this major? And some people are uncomfortable because they can't nail down the job they'll get. They may be passionate about English or something of the classics, geography, but say, well, what can I do with it? Well, there's a little bit of doubt there. But there's another fear that comes in. If you're going for a targeted major, you're aiming at one job. Will that job continue to exist? Will it be changed? Will it move overseas? So there's a risk with the targeted majors at all sometimes. Anyway, I help people with this fear all the time because the solution is faith, confidence, and hard work. You can make it in any field and with any major as long as you have the faith and confidence and are willing to work hard enough to make it happen. Uh, my sister, for instance, majored in art history. And when we told her she was going to do that, we said, oh no, you'll be with mom the rest of your life. Oh, no, she went to Rome and got a job giving tours of the Vatican and the Colosseum, and now she teaches art history in Rome at John Cabot University. So you can get a good job, have a really fine career with any major as long as you apply yourself well. Okay, so here's a program we use that answers a lot of the questions that people ask about these issues, My Plan. I'll show you that in just a minute. But it can answer these kinds of questions like, what are the majors out there? There's over 1,000 majors out there in the United States. Most students only know about 8 or 10 of them. But many of those students will be better off in something they don't even know about. So I like to help people know what the majors are. We can find out what can you do with a major in whatever. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. What jobs, what are the jobs? What do you do on the job? What does it pay? What's the job market like? Are all these jobs moving overseas? I'll show you how to do that with this program in just a couple of minutes. But My Plan, while it's very good, isn't good for everything. It's not good for finding out which schools offer a given major or what majors are offered at a given school, getting details on the courses and descriptions, or finding contact people or entry requirements. And it does give basic information on occupations, but it's limited and not as up to date as it should be. So I'll show you better resources for that. College Navigator is one of them. This is produced by the U.S. Department of Education, and it lets you find which schools offer a given major in a given location, the basic entry requirements, what tuition is for that school, demographics of the student body, what kind of athletics and activities they have, many other things. It's a great tool for researching colleges. Then we have access to college. Well, this is in college. I think I just said that. College Navigator, majors offered, course list, entry requirements, contact persons for the school. We get that from college websites. College Navigator will give you links to whatever college you might find that of interest. Then you can go to the website and get a lot more detail on their majors, the courses, the entry requirements, and who you can call for answers to the questions you can't easily find on the web. The web will give you a lot of information, but it never answers all the questions. And it very often brings up more questions than it answers, but that's good because if you can find a contact person, you'll have better questions to ask once you get in contact with them. And that's something, by the way, I spend a lot of my time doing that with students, helping them make contact with people at the schools they want to attend. So if you have difficulty with that, let me know. Glad to help. Okay, one more I'll share. This is one of several U.S. Department of Labor publications that discusses occupations in the United States. It has a few thousand jobs listed in it, and it lets you find out detailed, really good current information about salary levels, the job market for a given occupation, the training requirements. We'll look at that in a few minutes too. So how about back to My Plan? And I'm going to stop. What was that? PowerPoint for a moment and bring up my web page because I have these already running. Where are we? Oh, there's the mountain in New Mexico my wife and I are going to climb. She's willing to do it because there's a ski lift that takes us almost all the way to the top. But anyway, let's see. Here's my plan. There we go. Okay, several things you can do with my plan. One is if your student comes in and says, like I sort of did, I want to major in English. What can I do with that besides teach? Well, let's put in English. And it'll pull up, oh my goodness, a good number of majors in English. Remember I said there's a lot of majors out there. Most students only know about 8 or 10 of them, but here we're seeing that a lot of specialties within the field of English. But I'm going to choose just basic old English right now, just to keep it simple. But when somebody is interested in this, I recommend they look at each of these. In fact, I'll just pull one up. It'll give you a very brief description of what that major is about. In 10 seconds, you'll know basically what it's about and can continue or back up. But if I go to one like English language and literature general, okay, normally knows as English, again, very brief description. But then you say, okay, that sounds like what I want to study. What can I do with it? Up here we have what careers are related, and I'll show the kinds of occupations people most commonly do that degree. You can see that teaching is very common, but there are other things like librarians, even health educators, even recreation workers. This is one of those majors where there are lots of different jobs you can do, but they're not as easily targeted as some of the other majors are. Um, anyway, it's a good way to find out what they are. Now, if you say, well, tell me more about, what am I going to pick here? Well, let's go with librarian. This will pull up a description of what this occupation is. What does one do? It'll offer to play a short video on most occupations. It'll give a very bad description of the job requirements. Don't even read that one. Got a better one for you in the Outlook handbook. It'll suggest some related careers that are interesting, maybe interesting too. It'll show the average salaries, so not mega bucks, but a living wage. It'll give some bullet points of things they think might be worth knowing about this field, how many men, how many women, the major or majors that might qualify you for this job, and where you're likely to work. Libraries, well, actually, I guess they're including the school libraries under elementary and secondary schools. Okay, that makes sense. Then if you're still interested in the job after reading that much, go back to the top. You can select description. It'll go into more detail about this job, specialties within the field, the tasks and activities you might engage in on a daily basis. If you go back to the top, it'll give you a better description of the requirements to become qualified, especially if you scroll to the bottom and find the read more. This is definitely worth a read because it'll show the kind of licensure a person is likely to need and how they may obtain it. We go back to the top and go to salaries. It'll show you how salaries have changed over the last few years. Looks like relatively steady growth. You can get salaries by state and city. We can go to Florida and see how much this job pays in different states, the cities around the state of Florida. What's missing from this is the cost of living in those areas, but we can get that from other sources if that's of interest. It'll also look at employment. So it'll show how, it looks like field has declined a little bit over the last few years. Now, when jobs like this decline, it doesn't mean they're necessarily going away. It can mean that they're morphing into something else. An example is if you pull up computer programmer, it's going away. But programming is still big and growing because it's morphing into things like software designer, web designer, software engineer, app developer, game designer. So programming is growing, even though the old-fashioned title of programmer is gradually going away. The moral of the story is, when you see a decline like this, don't give up on the field. Find out what else is going on. And if that's not obvious to you, let me know and I'll help you look it up. So go back to the top. And if we go to employment, we're there, employment by state and city. So you can find out how many librarians are employed in different regions of Florida if you wish to do so. Okay. So that's mainly what my plan does to answer the question about majors. I want to show you one more thing because this is why we pay money for this program. It has 4 assessments that assess a person's interest, values, skills, and personality. They won't cost anything because I'm going to put a brochure in the chat and I'll mail it to Ms. Hayes that gives a license code that'll make it free. So you don't, if you decide you want to do this or you want your kids to do this, don't pay for it. Keep the MasterCard safe. I'll do that before we're done here, and you'll have access to our license code. Okay, so let me move on to another topic. My plan, as I mentioned, is not particularly good at getting detailed information on a particular major at a given school. I pulled up one of my favorite schools' websites here. I have 2 degrees from UF, or 2.5 if you consider the one I dropped out of. I learned a lot before I dropped out, though. Uh, but here's one way you can, and I know their site pretty well. Sometimes college websites are a little bit difficult to navigate, but if you look for academics, that'll usually let you get to a list of courses. Sometimes they hide it under something else. If you have trouble finding the list, let me know. If I go to academics and then programs and courses, this will show us their undergraduate majors and their graduate programs. Now, undergraduate kind of is sort of insulting to some people. I'm an undergraduate. Oh no. Well, undergraduate means everything until a person gets their bachelor's degree. Once you have your bachelor's degree, you might go on and become a graduate student, but there's nothing wrong with being an undergraduate. It's just what we call people who haven't gotten their bachelor's degree yet. So I'm going to go to explore all undergraduate programs. And this will bring up a site that I kind of have my problems with this because these pop-ups annoy my old eyes, but they do tell us briefly what each major is about. So that's not useless. In fact, this is a bit of an education. Sometimes I recommend to students just read them, read all of them. If you find one that's just not for you, just skip on. You don't have to even read the whole thing if you know it's not for you. But then you'll probably find some things that are interesting, in which case you can go to learn more. But here's what I prefer on their site. I'm really glad they do this. They also give me view as list. Well, I can pull up a plain old text list. It's a little quicker and easier to get through. So if I have a major in mind, like I'll just choose something kind of at random, like animal sciences. And this will bring up a description of that major, very briefly, what is it about? And I love to read this with students. In fact, sometimes students are resistant to reading this, and I'll make them sit there with me while I read it aloud. I lose my voice sometimes doing this, but that's because they need to know what this major is about. And that's a very good brief description. Then they might say, but what do I really study? If you scroll down a little bit on this site, you'll see specialization within this major. So they have an animal biology specialization, which we'll get to in a moment. They have an equine. What is that? Pigs? Squeak, squeak, squeak. No, horses. We have a food animal. Food animal. Huh? Did you know there are people who actually eat animals? Is that weird or what? And there's an integral, no, it's not weird. I like it sometimes. That's the squeak, squeak part of it. There's integrative animal sciences. Now, if one scrolls down a little bit, one will find a short description of each of those tracks. And if you choose a track, like I'll choose animal biology, because that's essentially their pre-veterinary track. So we go back up top and choose animal biology. And now if we scroll down, we'll find a list of we'll go to model semester plan and then see a list of the courses one would take. Now, if a person started at Santa Fe College, which I recommend, UF's good for starters too, for some students, this is what they take their first semester, their second semester, their third semester, and their fourth semester, or something very similar. We don't have exactly the same courses UF does, but we'll have an equivalent program that would get them into this degree major. If then you look at semester 5, 6, 7, and 8, those are the courses one would take once one transfers to the university. This is a way to look and see, what are you studying this major? I recommend click on the numbers and it'll bring up a description of that course. And if you can't stand to read the description of the course, this is probably not the right major for you, because you're going to spend how many years reading textbooks and papers and writing papers. This is going to be a big chunk of a person's life. If you're not interested in the topic, this is not the major for you. Sometimes students choose major because they know they're going to make a lot of money. That is very simplistic thinking. You can make good money with virtually any major. So I recommend look beyond just the money. Look at, is it the right thing to study, and is it going to lead you to the kind of work that you will enjoy doing and be proud of, not just make a lot of money. Sometimes they'll offer electives or let you take electives. If you wonder what those electives might be, you can go to courses, go to the A to Z search and find courses by any area. We'll stay with, well, I could say stay with animal sciences, but often you're required to take majors outside of your field of study. So let's say I wanted to look at African studies. This will bring up a list of courses in the African Study Department. So these are some things a person might take as a minor, or just take a few courses because they find them interesting. Now, some majors give you a lot of electives. Some hardly give you any at all. It tends to vary from major to major. So you can find that out. How much free time do you have? So I'm going to stop for this, but there's a lot more you can do with the websites. This is only the catalog description, and catalog descriptions are intentionally very short and sweet and cut and dried. But if you go to more info, this will bring up the website for this major. And okay, this is not exactly what I had in mind. I think I got off track here a little bit. Let me try it again. Back here. Oh, that was African Studies. I thought it was in Animal Sciences. So let's go back to undergraduate. I just choose any old thing like accounting. And this will take us to the accounting catalog description. But then if I go to more info, that'll take us to the website, which has a lot more depth, a lot more breadth, a lot more stuff going on in it. So when someone's interested enough in a major to seriously consider it, I recommend they find the website for that major and read every word on it. And again, if they're not willing to read every word on it, they're probably not interested enough that topic to go into that major. Okay, so that's the direct approach to find that. Now I showed you UF, but a lot of our students, a lot of your students will want to go elsewhere, but where? Let me show you College Navigator. This is that program by the U.S. Department of Education that is their college search engine. And it lets you find colleges several different ways, and it gives pretty good little rundowns on each one. For instance, you can browse for programs, which means program of study. And I want to give you a little tour of this using a scenario that I had a few years ago with a young woman that wanted to go to medical school, and she wanted to major in a biological science to get her there. And we had this little discussion about how you don't have to major in biology to go to medical school. In fact, you can major in anything and go to medical school as long as you take the pre-med prerequisites and you make A's in most of them. But biology is a perfectly valid major, and that's what she wanted, so we went with it. So we'll open up biology and find out, oh, there's 2 tracks even in general biology. Now, if you look at one of these majors like biomathematics, bioinformatics, there are 5 tracks in that area. Under ecology, evolution, and systematics and populating, there are 12 tracks. This way you get a list of almost every major available in the United States is by opening up these particular tracks. But I'm going to stay with biology because it matches my story. I'll choose that, the general track. Oh, she wanted general. Okay, we'll stay with that one. We've added that. Now you can search for more than one major, but then you don't necessarily know which school comes up that offers which major. So I tend to like to search for them separately. So now we're going to show results, and it'll show us all the colleges in the United States that offer degrees in biology. Well, no, it's not, because there's more than 500 of them. And that's its limit, its cap. So we have to lower it down a little bit, but that's okay. She said she's got to be in the Southeast. So we go to map. Now you could mark states one at a time. Like I'll just mark a few at random here, or I'll unmark those because they also very conveniently give us the region up here. So we'll mark Southeast and we'll mark that region. So got it? We'll now show results, and we'll now narrow it down to those schools that offer degrees in biology in the Southeastern states. Okay, we're a little closer, and it's a small enough number, it'll actually let us look at them all. She had 2 more criteria. One is that it has to have for women's basketball. And I said, huh? You like it that much? Well, she said, yes, and I'm on scholarship. If I don't play basketball at an SEC college, I don't get my scholarship. I couldn't argue with her on that. I thought that was a very reasonable thinking. So now show results. And now see the schools in the Southeast that offer biology, that offer women's basketball. Now we had a little more conversation there because she knew this, I knew this. Not every school in the Southeast is an SEC school, and it had to be an SEC school. But she had that list. She already knew who they were. So we find a school like, how about Alabama A&M? I'll just start with the first one. This will bring up a nice little description of who are they, where are they. There's their website address. How big of a town are they in? Do they have campus housing? How big are they? This is a fairly small university with 6,000 students. Then we can go on to find out what they cost. It'll show their in-state tuition and their out-of-state tuition. This school is fairly reasonable for out-of-state tuition, but also kind of high for in-state tuition. Florida in-state tuition is $6,000 to $7,000 a year. They're a little higher than that. It'll also give you an estimate of what food and housing will be, so you can get an idea of what it costs. I'm going to shrink that down so we can see the other topics. I recommend look at any of this that looks intriguing. For instance, enrollment will show demographics of the student body. How many whites, how many blacks, how many Native Americans, and so on. And a few other things about population demographics, men and women, and so on. If we back up, we can find out what other programs and majors they offer. And this is a way to get a list of all the majors a given school offers. So if you have a school in mind, an out-of-state school, or even an in-state school, you can pull this up and get a quick list of what they offer and what level they offer it at. For instance, this school offers a bachelor's degree in agriculture, animal plant, veterinary science, and related fields. Other, I'm not sure what other means here, but we can look that up. But they have both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but they only had 2 students in each of those in the last year. So that's a pretty small program, where their animal sciences program is only at the bachelor's level. It's 18 students. It'll highlight the one you search for. So they have a pretty good size biology program and a pretty fair size graduate program there too. So anyway, one more thing this does that is sometimes useful. If you find a school and you wonder who accredits them and their programs, this will bring up accreditation, and they're accredited by SACS, which is one of the major accrediting agencies. They're a very reliable one. And by the way, not all accreditations are created equal. Some are considered acceptable and some are not. And if a person attends a college and gets a degree that's not properly accredited, other schools may not accept the credits for those schools, the classes from those schools. If you stay with one from one of the major accrediting agencies like SEC, any college in the country will accept the credits if you transfer. So that's something to watch out for. Another thing about accreditation is sometimes you have to accredit from a program that, you have to graduate from an accredited program for that field. For instance, if you want to be a speech language pathologist, you have to graduate from an accredited program from this organization. And they're telling us that their program is accredited. You'll be ready, prepared to be qualified once you've graduated from it. That's another thing to look for. Okay, so that's this program. Oh, I did mention one thing. If you want to find schools with a certain distance of a zip code area, for instance, I'll clear my search and I'll put it within, let's say, 50 miles, moderate commuting distance, 59 from a zip code. Oh, I got it backwards. Let's go with 50 miles from, let's say, our zip code 32601. It'll show the colleges within that radius of this zip code area. So if you know what area you'd like to be in, this is a way to find the schools relatively easily. Okay. So there's one more I want to show you, then we'll open it up for Q&A. And that's the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Remember I said that my plan has pretty good career information, but it only goes so far. Well, this takes it from there, goes a lot further, and has much more up-to-date information in it. This is done by the U.S. Department of Labor that gathers their data from their own research and also from other federal organizations. So you can search for occupations several different ways. One is if you want to see the highest paying or the fastest growing field of degree, you can do it that way. Or you can just go to the index. I'm just going to hit the letter A, and here we start with the ones that start with a number, the ones that start with the letter A, on down to the ones that start with the letter B. This site is amazing. I love it. I use it all the time. So if you wanted to see what you get paid as a ballet dancer, well, they're going to combine that in. A little bit of a trick. A lot of these are combined together, like ballerinas under dancers and choreographers. But if we choose something like, I'll choose something kind of at random, but something that requires a degree. How about biomedical engineer? I'll use that one as an example. This will bring up bioengineers and biomedical engineers and give a pretty good description. It'll offer a short video. And by the way, these are much more up to date than the ones in my plan. It'll show salaries that are more up to date. the degree level, and so on. Each of these is a topic, and it'll take you to what they do in more detail. And then if you want to know more about the training requirements, here's how to become one. Here's one of the better ways to find out what kind of degree is likely to get a person into a certain career. So it'll give a fair description of that. So this is very much worth a read for any career field that a person is interested in, and it's very good for exploring a wide number of careers that a person might find possible. Phew. So I'm going to stop there, say one more thing, then I'll be quiet, I promise. But my services, our services, are available to you free of charge and fairly freely. If you'd like to meet with us for a consultation, it can be about Santa Fe, but it doesn't have to be. I'll discuss any school with any person. My mission is to help you find the right school for your kids and your kids' needs. If Santa Fe happens to be one of them, fine with me. But if it's not, that's also fine with me. We can do this by Zoom too, if it's inconvenient to come in, or write me a note, give me a phone call. We'll figure out what's the best way, but I'll work with you one-on-one or two-on-two as you wish. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. Can you believe it? And see if there are any questions or comments. I'll even stop the share. They can see me a little bigger for whatever that's worth.
All right. So we do have one question. Yes, the webinar is recorded, and once it is edited, it will be posted on the Parent Academy's website. And you just go to our Alachua County Public Schools website, go to equity. It'll be a little hand with a small hand in the middle of it. You click on that. On the left-hand side, you'll see Parent Academy. And once you click on Parent Academy, you just scroll down to the bottom left, and you will see all of the videos posted. And so, yes, the answer to that is definitely yes.
But I'm here live if you have a real question right now. If I don't know the answer, I'll just make something up. That was a joke. Thank you for laughing. I try not to make things up. Sometimes we do have to be imaginative and say, well, I think, but then I always have to back up and find out if what I think is really true before I tell it to somebody.
And so, Mr. Jimmy, for anyone who wants to contact you, can you share your screen with your contact information?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. That's why I bring the PowerPoint back, and let's run it and share screen again. Okay, we're available to you. I think I said this, but there it is again. I like to say, oh, how can I move ahead? I like to say, you ought to come in. We have a zoo here at Santa Fe. If you haven't been there, I recommend it. Okay, so here's my contact info. Jimmy Yan, just remember, best name for a career counselor. We're here in Building R, room 217, which is upstairs over records, admissions, and financial aid. There's my number. You'll
It's
quite
not
possibly.
sharing the screen.
Uh, share.
There we go.
Okay, so are you seeing my contact info now?
Yes.
Okay, good. If you call, you might get voicemail, but please leave a message anyway. I do return it. I do check voicemail. I use email quite a lot. I can type better than I can talk, so feel free to write if you prefer.
Okay.
And we can use this to schedule a time to come in or work by Zoom if that's what you like.
Okay. They would like you to share the code that you mentioned in the
Oh,
presentation.
thank you. I'm glad somebody here has a memory. Let's see, how do I do that? I'm gonna stop share for a moment. Go to chat.
And I don't think that they can see the chat, Mr. Jimmy. So maybe if you just,
Oh, okay, I'll bring it up and
is it a
show it to
link
you.
or is it, okay,
I tell you what, I'll also send it to you, Tina, and you can
okay,
distribute it to everybody if you like. But
okay,
I'll show it too. Give me just a second to find it.
okay.
And here we go. This PC. There's that file, that directory. Okay. Ta-da.
And then while he's searching for that so he can pull it up and show you all, you can definitely use that contact information that he gave you. So that way you can reach out to him, and I know he wouldn't mind walking you through it.
Right.
Or you can also email me, since he's going to send it to me.
Yes.
So you can email me at Parent Academy, all one word, Parent Academy at gm.sbac.edu.
And I should add, we have a small computer lab here, and sometimes students want to come in and do the assessment right here where we can walk them through and explain as they go along. And that is a very good way to do it because the assessments in my plan are good, but they're not self-explanatory very well. So I like to make sure students know what they're doing and what it means and what they can use it. If a student doesn't understand the program, they tend to think it's a black box trying to tell them what to do. And that's not what it's for. When programs try to tell people what to do, it's always a joke. Like I had a really expensive program once that suggested I'd be a showgirl. I didn't know it was so cute. I was younger back then, but it left out one simple fact. I can't dance.
Right.
Anyway, but what programs can do is to lead people to good information from which they can make their own choices and also encourage broader thinking about themselves and their careers and why are you choosing this job, as opposed to just lots of money and it'll make my friends proud, respect me.
Okay.
And
Then
I should,
would it let you pull it up on your end?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Would it let you pull it up on your end for the code?
Oh, have I not done that? Okay, hang on a
It didn't
second.
share. Yeah.
I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Hang on just a moment. Let me see where this, okay, where are we? Okay, I kind of lost you. Here we go. Where are we? Where are we? Look at that one. Well, I'm now trying to find the screen that allows me to share. Let me just close some things out. Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay,
Okay.
share screen. Okay, let me find the one that does have that on it and share that one.
Okay.
Apologies. I had a little,
Okay. Awesome.
is that got it?
It is there. So I
Okay,
guess I would
good.
say, for my parents and students, if you want to just take a picture of that, if you have like an extra device, if you're not using your phone for the Zoom, or if you can still get to your camera even though you're on Zoom, just take a snapshot of the form that he has up there, so that way you'll have it. And again, if you have questions about it, definitely reach out to Mr. Jimmy and he'll help you.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see if we have any additional questions. Please feel free to type it in the Q&A section.
Mhm. Yep.
Although I think I'm like you, Mr. Jimmy, I don't know what happened to my Q&A
Okay.
button.
And I'm sending you my plan and the PowerPoint. It didn't go through the first time, but I'm sending it to you again.
Okay.
A
And
little bit
so,
slower.
so I'll have access to the PowerPoint that
Right.
Mr. Jimmy used during this presentation. So if anyone that is here joining us, please definitely reach out to me to get that PowerPoint if you desire to have it.
Oh, looks like it. Yeah.
And then I guess I'll ask a question. So if I have adults that are here, my parents, if they decided like they've went so far with schooling and they want to see if their credits transfer to move forward, are you available to help them as well?
Yes, I am. I love that. So I'll work with anybody, and I love mature students.
Okay,
And
awesome.
just what you said, a lot of times students will have gotten credits from other schools or they're old and
Mhm.
wonder what does this count as? And I can walk you through getting those evaluated to find out what they would count as for the next level, whatever else you might want to do.
Awesome. And we'll just see if we have any more questions pouring in. Do you see the Q&A button at the bottom of your window, Mr. Jimmy?
Oh, I do.
Do we have any questions?
I don't see any at this moment.
Okay, okay. Because it doesn't look like I don't know where my button went. Well, I definitely won't hold us if there isn't any additional questions, and I can definitely go ahead and close us out for this evening. Mr. Jimmy, as always, I appreciate having you join us and present for our families. That is like a treat for us as well, just like it is for you. You're very informative, and we thank you so much for all that you do for our Alachua County Public Schools students and parents. So thank you again.
Mhm. And I thank you too. This is a lot of fun for me, and I'm sorry I'm the only one talking for the most part, but I'd really love to hear from you. So do give me a call, write me a note. Let's get together
Okay,
somehow.
awesome. Awesome. So I just want to thank everyone else for joining us tonight for this Zoom session. We appreciate your participation. And each week you're available. You can connect with us for more informative presentations and discussions just like this one. Again, my name is Tina Folston Hayes. I'm the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools. Next week, I look forward to you coming back and joining me again, same time, same place. And I just want everyone to have a wonderful night. And please feel free to contact myself or Mr. Jimmy should you have any additional questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Jimmy, again, and have a wonderful night.
A pleasure.
All
Hope you do
right.
too.
Bye, guys.
Adios.